Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, joined by Cory Curtis from News 2, live in studio. Parker Kelly at the controls. We are broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Cory, how's it going?
I'm adequate, thank you.
Going to be a fun show today. Lots of Titans talk. Titans fall 37-24 in Santa Clara.
Wait a minute.
On
You just,
Sunday.
just glossed over it. 24 points.
I know. 3 times in 4 weeks, the Titans have scored 24 points.
My bar's low, Jake. My bar's low.
Had they reached 24 before that at all this season? I don't think they have. Because the Cardinals win was 22-21.
Yeah. How many did they score against the Rams?
19,
yeah.
So, yeah, I believe that is they had not reached 24 at all,
yeah.
And now they've done it 3 times in 4 games.
Man, if they just hadn't laid such an egg against the Jaguars,
right,
you'd feel really decent about this 4-game stretch.
Coming off the bye week, right? And the Texans game before that, they only scored 13 points, but you tied that game late. And if it wasn't for giving up, a 3rd and 17 or something on that last drive, you might have had a chance to go win that football game. So since the bye week in general, the Titans have looked like a
competitive football team.
They've looked like a football team in general.
I think I described them Sunday night as an actual NFL football team because they did not look like an actual NFL football team for a long time this year. And I know people are going to disagree with me on this, and that's fine. I know there's a lot of people upset that Amy fired the coach allegedly,
right?
Reportedly, and the other guys wanted to stick with him, and she needs to stay in her lane. She was right. Okay, she was right. They're better now. They're better now. That they're not great, but they're better now. They were getting worse on a weekly basis.
And we aren't talking about coaching malpractice on a weekly basis anymore. Now, Mike McCoy hasn't been perfect, but there haven't been issues like
if your biggest disagreement with them is what they do on 4th down.
Right.
I mean,
that happens to every coach.
Yes.
And you're not going to agree with everything Mike McCoy does, but I mean, with Brian Callahan in a 3-week span, you had elbow gate, you had the decision to try and go get points inside your own 10 with 45 seconds left in the first half.
In the opener?
In the opener against that was all in one game. And then the Colts game where they couldn't figure out how to get the kicker out there and ended up taking the ball.
Kicking ball gate.
So all of that happened in a 3-week span under Brian Callahan. At least those things aren't happening anymore.
Well, yeah. And, Cam Ward's been sacked once in the last 2 weeks. You've rushed for 300 yards. You're committed to actually rushing the football some now. You feel like it is more players versus plays. And, you see the result. It's look, they're a long way from being a good football team, but at least you can watch all 4 quarters now.
Right.
I mean,
it's not painful to watch
no,
every single week.
No, I mean, I got done watching that game Sunday. I go,
that's about what I expected.
That's just what I hoped for.
Right.
Because I sat here last Wednesday. What did I say? The number one thing I wanted to see I wanted to see the offensive line prove that Cleveland wasn't a fluke.
Right.
And they did it.
Yeah.
And they did it. And so I'm really happy for those guys. I am happy for Cam Ward. I'm happy for Tony Pollard. And I'm happy for fans watching this offense. Look, they still had too many 3-and-outs in San Francisco, but they still put up 300 yards, which is higher than their season average of like 250.
Yeah.
They still put up 24 points. And, there are, again, plays where you could make it a much closer football game that if you hit them. San Francisco's better than they are.
Yes.
I mean, they showed that.
They out-talented the Titans, especially on the offensive side. Like, I said it yesterday, the one-on-one matchups, Ricky Pearsall versus Marcus Harris. You're going to lose that.
Well,
George Kittle against whatever 5th safety you had out there.
If you want to know how thin the Titans secondary is right now, by the way, they put 3 safeties on
all
IR
3 of them. Yes.
But if you want some statistical data to show you how thin the Titans are in the secondary, look what Shedeur Sanders did to him last week, and look what Shedeur Sanders did against the Bears the next week. Okay. Then look at what the 49ers did against them this week. I mean, they're taking advantage of that group. 49ers couldn't run the football against the Titans. Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson, they averaged 3 yards a carry. 3.0.
Yeah.
Not 3.9, 3.0. And they ran the ball a lot. And their longest run with their running backs, 8 yards. 8 yards. So they entirely won that game through the air. The Browns entirely, with Shedeur Sanders, got it done through the air. They are exposing a young, unequipped secondary at this point.
Right. How many of those players the Titans had in their secondary in the second half, after all the safeties went out, would be considered starting level NFL players? One.
Well, I mean,
it's Amani Hooker. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, I like Darrell Baker and I like him on this football team, but I don't like him as the one. All right.
Right. But if you listed out the top 100 cornerbacks in the league, I don't know if he's on there.
Yeah. I don't know if he is either. And then, Marcus Harris started the year, buried.
Right.
And I'm glad to see him getting time to play. But, again, he comes up with plays. But you saw, again, last week, Ricky Pearsall, who you brought up, was running free.
He was
just running free. And, Juwan Jennings is not a one, but he's a dog. You throw him the ball around the end zone, he's going to come up with it.
Right.
He is brute force at the goal line. He's not going to lose. This is what you want Alec Iomanner to be. You want him to be Juwan Jennings. Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would be
Juwan Jennings is a dog in the run game and he's a dog in the red zone. All right. And he doesn't drop anything and he attacks the football. I remember when Juwan Jennings was our Titans on 2 prep player of the week when I used to host a coaching show. and as a quarterback, I remember he was a quarterback at Blackman and he came on the show and we was talking about going to Tennessee. And he's like, I said, are you going to play quarterback? He goes, yeah. I go, so that's what they told you you're going to play. He's like, yeah. He's like, I was like, okay, good luck with that.
Great.
Yeah. And I saw him working out at Lipscomb this summer. And I said, what do we need to do to get you back home, big guy? He just flashed me some money.
Yeah, that's
because is he a free agent after this year?
I don't believe he is. I think he just signed an extension. If I'm not,
I think he
mistaken. He is one of those players that you said he's not a one. He's not a guy that's going to be your wide receiver one, but every team in the NFL would like to have a Juwan Jennings on their team.
He's a dog.
And Jennings and Pearsall had their way yesterday. We'll talk about the defense, but something we did start talking about before we came on air, Cory, is the run game. You mentioned it. You wanted to see that it wasn't a fluke. I will say it correctly today, Parker. The Titans had a 70% success rate.
There we go.
On designed run plays on Sunday. That is the highest mark of any team in any game this season.
Wow.
And they still lost by 13. But
Cory, he said a different word yesterday.
I did. I messed up success. You can figure it. Little Freudian slip yesterday. But yes, a 70% success rate on designed runs from the Titans on Sunday against the 49ers. Something is clicked with this offensive line. Something is clicked with Tony Pollard because Tony Pollard did not look nearly as explosive for the first 12 weeks of the season as he has the last 2 weeks.
You got to have room to run to accelerate. Jim.
No, I know, but I think back to a specific play. I think it was in the Jaguars game where Cam Ward is running towards the line of scrimmage and he dumps it off to Tony Pollard just before he gets there. And Tony Pollard looks like his feet are stuck in the mud. Like he had some room, but he had nowhere that he could go. He has been pulling away from defenders in the last couple of weeks. He's made some guys miss. I want to apologize to Tony Pollard because I was ready to say like, hey, just give Tajay Spears the ball. Like we don't.
Well, because you needed somebody who could make something out of nothing.
Right. And that is true.
And now that he's got something, he's, I think the average is 6.8 per carry the last 2 weeks.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, you tweeted it out and we referenced it on the show.
Yeah.
The first 12 weeks he had what, like 500-ish yards and was averaging 3.6 yards per carry.
Yeah, maybe 3.8.
And he's got 270 yards in the last 2 games and is averaging close to 7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
So
and look, that all starts up front. That absolutely all starts up front. You're seeing the push, you're seeing the lanes. I mean, look at the touchdown run he had.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a Derrick Henry-sized gaping hole. Now, they met him at the goal line, and he finished it strong to get in, but he had a massive hole to get the first 4 yards and get some acceleration to make that, to initiate the contact with. And so, I asked Mike McCoy about it on Monday. He was asked about the running game, and I was like, all right, what help me
what
understand.
Changed? Yes.
Help me understand. What are you asking them to do differently than you did the first, 12 weeks of the season? I said, because we saw the results then and we see the results now.
Right.
There is something that is tangibly different. And he's like, well, we're just committed to running it more. And I don't believe that for a second. Okay. I don't. I think they've simplified things. I think it's more again. So just when you're listening to me say, I don't have proof of this. I'm not an all 22 guy. All right. And I don't know what the play calls are. I think they've simplified things. All right. I think they're more about beating the guys in front of them. I think they're more about plays that work instead of running more plays.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's my opinion only. But there has to be something that's different other than running more plays, which they are running more running plays.
Right.
But the reason they're running more plays is because they're on the field more. All right. And they're on the field more to run more running plays. But again, when you're 70% hit rate,
yeah,
you're going to call more of those and feel good about it.
Right. And being more committed to the run doesn't necessarily make you run the ball better. So something has to be tangibly different. And I agree with you. I think they're relying on those guys up front to just beat the guy in front of them.
And those guys are big. I mean, they've got big dudes up there. They should be pushing guys around. And is it a mystery that Cam Ward's first two touchdown games have come in 2 games where the Titans have run the football and he has suffered 1 sack?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's all connected, all right? It all starts up front. We have been saying this since the start of the season. They will not be competitive until those guys start to win, and they are starting to win.
And the offense does look better. We talked about it. 3 games out of the last 4 with 24-plus points. Lenny on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, so you're saying if we would have lost 24-34 against the Jaguars, you would feel better? That is crazy. It's not crazy.
No,
I would feel a lot better if they lost 24-34 than 25-3 like they did.
And just non-competitive.
That was a horrible game to watch.
They were not competitive in that game.
I would have felt a lot better.
Yes. Again, I am more concerned with how the team is playing than the wins and the losses.
This team is not talented enough to win a lot of games.
No.
But they are looking like a competent NFL football team, which is a step in the right direction.
You have to be competitive before you can start winning.
Yes.
Okay. You do this in stages. And if you can start to be competitive each week, and then you make those little tiny adjustments along the way that get you over the top.
Right.
And then you start to win more games. I mean, the Bears are a dramatic difference from last year, so they're I don't think they're a great comparison because it's been so dramatic, but they've also gotten better as the year has gone on. It's like the Patriots,
right?
The Patriots, they lost to the Raiders week 1, okay, but they've gotten better each step of the way this season. Both those teams played soft schedules early, so they were able to work out some kinks and still win games
and kind of teach themselves how to win. It's like, you're not playing great teams, but hey, you can come back from being down 24-14 late and go win a game.
And they both have quarterbacks who can go win them a game in the 4th quarter.
Right.
I mean, I think Caleb Williams has 5 game-winning drives this year. Then you got to need Cam Ward to be that because he's had the ball in his hands with a couple chances to win games this year. And so, and then you've got to get pass rushers to close games out. And we could go on and on about the things that they need to do to get over. But yes, I would feel better losing 34-24 than 25-3.
Yes, 100%. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The reason the Titans lost on Sunday was the defense, giving up 7 consecutive third down conversions to start off the game, 5 straight scoring drives, including 4 touchdowns. And Arden Key had some comments after the game about not making adjustments. Denard Wilson responded yesterday.
Good.
We will talk about all of that coming up next and the Titans defense as a whole, including a possible return for Femi Oladejo. That's all coming up. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. That was Titans defensive coordinator Denard Wilson yesterday responding to Arden Key's comments after the game on Sunday. Key basically said, we don't make any adjustments, and that's why the defense struggled on Sunday.
What does he want him to do? Does he want him to come out and cover Ricky Pearsall himself?
Right.
I mean, realistically, his hands are kind of tied. I think the best adjustment would be have your edge guys win their one-on-one battles and sack the quarterback.
Yeah.
That would be the best adjustment.
What the old saying, it's the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. It's like you can make all the adjustments you want. You still have Darryl Baker and
it's like I said, guess what? They have Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat up front. And guess what? The run defense looks really good.
Yeah.
By the way, Cedric Gray had 16 more tackles.
He had 11 in the first half.
Yes. So the part of the team where they have players, they're good. Where the part of the team where they don't have players, they're not good.
Right.
Okay.
Giving up 7 consecutive third downs shows you one thing, that you do not have good pass rushers and you do not have a good secondary.
Yep.
The 3rd and 13 that they gave up, I think that was one of the last of those 7 consecutive that they got. It's just like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
When you cannot cover anybody one-on-one.
Yeah.
There's not really anything that you can do in those situations.
Well, and you see him just running, like I said, Ricky Pearsall is running free.
Yeah.
George Kittle, how is George Kittle? I mean, how do you lose track of 85?
Right.
I mean, but
you lost 3 safeties in about a 10-minute span, and you had to put Kendall Brooks out there. And nothing against Kendall Brooks, but that's a practice squad player that I
love Kendall Brooks.
You're having to throw out there.
He's a special teams player.
Right.
He is.
And
and Mike Brown's a special teams player.
Right. He had to pick 6 against the Falcons in the preseason.
That's right.
Mr. Brooks.
Kendall Brooks is from Swansea, South Carolina. And I only bring this up because I know Swansea, South Carolina. I worked in Columbia for 7 years. It is a 1 stoplight town. And where they love football, where like the whole town goes to game. I once went to a diner in Swansea where they had the original hardwood floors in there, and there was a giant hole in it in the dining room, and they just didn't fix it. It was fantastic.
I love it. It builds character.
So that is, I mean, that when you see somebody who comes from that and goes to Michigan State and then makes it in the NFL,
right.
You root for that guy.
Right. And it's a great story, but that's not a guy you want to be on the field for the entire second half as one of your safeties.
It's tough.
And
he's probably going to start this week, right?
Right. You put all 3 of them on IR.
Did Winston hurt his hamstring again?
Yes. Yes. I believe it was hamstring for both
Woods was a hamstring.
Woods and Winston.
Woods was a hamstring before too, so both of them.
And both of all of those guys done for the season. So you've got 3 weeks. They did sign 2 safeties to the practice squad, I want to say. So, so you've got more practice squad safeties at your disposal.
They claimed a guard off waivers.
They did
too.
From the Ravens.
Yeah. No.
At least the picture they used, he was in a Ravens uniform.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not. Maybe it was the Ravens, but I thought it was one of the teams they just played.
It's very possible.
But yeah,
let me find it.
He's a young player from LSU. I just remember that. And I was just surprised to see them pick up
from the Browns.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. The tweet that Jim Wyatt put out had him in a Ravens uniform. So I guess I need reading comprehension rather than just scrolling through Twitter and seeing it.
That's an interesting choice.
Garrett Dellinger.
He must be somebody that was on their radar before for them to flat out pick him up, because I guess if Zeitler's done for the year, and we haven't heard that.
No.
But he left that game some, and Cory Levin played, and so if they think Levin might have to start, and they're down to Jackson Slater as like their only other guard,
want to have at least a safety blanket there.
Yeah,
bring in somebody with a little more experience. 8566 says also Brock Purdy is pretty good. His accuracy and anticipation is incredible. He's also a lot more mobile than I realized. It was a recipe for disaster for our defense. Yeah, Brock Purdy impressed me on Sunday.
I was beginning to wonder if Mac Jones was better than Brock Purdy. I mean, it really was. But Brock Purdy was really good Sunday.
Right. As a casual viewer of the 49ers, my dad's a 49ers fan, so I pay a little bit more attention to them. And you watch the Jaguars game they played where Brock Purdy turned it over 4 times and basically cost them that game. Yep. And Mac Jones comes in a couple weeks later and he's able to lead them to a couple wins. You start to wonder, man, was that contract a bad deal for the Niners?
Maybe it was the Jaguars.
That Jaguars defense is solid, and
10-4 now.
They've got a lot of turnovers. I think they're up there. I know the Bears have 29 takeaways
They're
this year.
plus 20.
That's crazy.
They're plus 20. You pick in the top 5 for a decade straight. You amass some good players.
It's almost like that's where the good players are.
Well, most teams do. The Titans
still
pick Isaiah Wilson and
yeah, that
a good pick.
3 years in a row. Wilson, Farley, Burks. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to our phone lines. Trey has called in. Trey, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Ray, fire away. The platform is yours.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, I just wanted to say I didn't realize that the Chiefs had Gardner Minshew as far as their number 2 quarterback.
Yep.
And that's crazy. And the thing of it is too is that he has been successful as a starting quarterback. So how will we handle that as far as them coming in here? And you know how their running game is. Once they start pounding the rock, they're gonna start throwing RPOs. They got wide receivers with good hands. And can we match their energy? They're gonna come in here and pound the rock all day long until they pound it into submission. And can we exert that same amount of run game and as far as comparables? And do you think we have enough firepower to get some points on the board? Because Gardner Minshew going to put points on the board. Do you think we can match up? And y'all have a good day. Thank you. Love y'all.
Thank you for the call, Trey.
2 things. If they want to go run game versus run game and make that what this game is all about, I think the Titans right now would absolutely sign up for that.
Yeah.
Knowing they've got 93 and 98 on their side.
And Pacheco and Hunt haven't been great this year.
No, their offense hasn't been great. I know their offense ranks up higher, but it is not the same Chiefs offense. They've been struggling to score points consistently for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't think Gardner Minshew makes them better than Patrick Mahomes did. So he's not going to elevate their offense. The big difference between the two, other than one of them is one of the best generational quarterbacks of all time, and the other one's a backup.
It's just a slight difference.
And he is right, though. Gardner Minshew has won in this league before.
Right. Gardner Minshew is a better backup than most teams have.
Yes, there's a Ryan Fitzpatrick quality to him. But the other part of the Ryan Fitzpatrick quality to him is you can get him to turn the football over.
Right.
Now, the Titans have not been able to do that. He has started against the Titans 5 times. All right. He's only turned it over against them in 1 game.
Wow.
Where he turns it over against everyone else, the Titans have not in the past been able to get Gardner Minshew to turn the football over. That needs to change in this game. And the best way for them to do that is force him into obvious passing situations and continue to be strong on run defense, which they have been since Jeffrey Simmons came back. The Browns were unable to run the football 2 weeks ago. The 49ers stayed committed to the run, but between Brian Robinson and Christian McCaffrey, they ran it 31 times for 94 yards.
Yep.
Okay, you will take those numbers as a defense.
And we talked about it earlier too, talking about this Chiefs team. This is uncharted territory for them.
Yes, to think they're going to come in here just arms swinging saying we're pissed off for greatness, I think it is far more likely that they show up and it's like Will Smith looking around going, what do we do now?
Right. Robbie and Joe, I heard them talk about a text they got saying, the Chiefs are going to come in here and play with pride. I don't know if they are.
No, I don't.
They're missing their quarterback, and they are out of playoff contention for the first time in 11 years.
They have nothing to play for.
I don't know what that team's going to do.
No, they have nothing to play for. Nothing. And now they could come in and play with tons of pride. But your point is there's nothing to fall back on.
Right. This is they have had what? So over 11 years, probably close to 200 straight games where they have been playing thinking they can win the Super Bowl still.
Yeah.
This is the first time in about 200 games where they are not. And I know not all those players have been a part of all of that, but the key ones have.
Yeah.
Is Travis Kelce going to be super motivated to go and beat the Titans on Sunday?
No.
Is Chris Jones going to be super motivated to go in and sack Cam Ward 3 times on Sunday?
They've been playing for their playoff lives the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it wasn't good enough.
Right.
They're not going to be more motivated than they were in those games. All right. So I'm not, again, they don't have more to play for. They don't have Patrick Mahomes.
Right. I hate to say it because I think the Titans have a decent chance that they could win more than just this game. I think the Titans are going to win on Sunday. Like, and it's not going to be because they are a good team. It's going to be because the Chiefs are just going to mail it in.
And that's the unpredictable quality to it. I can tell you this: the look ahead line for Titans Chiefs was 11.5 for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then after Sunday, when Mahomes went down, it was 4.5.
Yeah.
So I mean, that 7 points is a really massive swing in the National Football League.
Right. And again, not having anything to play for, not having your star quarterback changes things a lot. We'll see. The Titans haven't won at Nissan Stadium in 14 months. So we will see if they're able to actually change that on Sunday. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will continue to talk Titans defense, but I believe we have some breaking NFL news. And we will get to that coming up next. Jake Lyman, Corey Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory, Curtis, Parker, Kelly alongside you on your Wednesday morning. Today between noon and 3, Chase and Big Joe will have your chance to win a $100 Moments Peace Salon and Day Spa gift card, and you can qualify to win a $1,000 Genesis Diamonds gift card. It's the 12 Days of Christmas on 102.5 The Game. Tease some breaking NFL news. The Miami Dolphins are benching Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback. Quinn Ewers taking over for his first career NFL start against the Bengals on Sunday. Very interesting move. Maybe just seeing what you have in Quinn Ewers, but once you bench a guy, it's tough to go back to him, and I think the Dolphins might be looking somewhere else this offseason.
Well, yeah, because they overpaid. And you can't – if you pay an average quarterback big money, it doesn't make him a big quarterback. It makes him an average quarterback making big money. And that's why these teams, and I think eventually you're going to start to see it. You know, you saw the Giants do it eventually with Daniel Jones, having the courage to move on from guys who are average. It looks like the Arizona Cardinals overpaid Kyler Murray. I would bet they're going to be looking to move on from him after the season if it's possible.
Yeah.
The Dolphins will look to move on from Tua because it doesn't matter what you pay the guy, and it doesn't matter if he's okay. If he's not good enough to get you where you need to go, and like if you're the Dolphins and you just watched what Drake May did and you've been watching what Josh Allen do, you're like, well, this guy's not going to beat them.
Right.
And so there's two ways to do it. Number one, you have to have a roster so elite that you can win with a guy like Tua, or you have a quarterback who's really elite and can patch up a couple of the holes that you've got. And, look, you better have a plan, for replacing that guy. But again, paying somebody a lot of money doesn't make them better than they are.
And the Dolphins, their window around him is closing. Tyreek Hill, obviously missing all this season. He's gone. The defense is not very good. And they did win 4 straight games to get themselves back into a pseudo playoff
Detroit
position.
Just torched them Monday night.
They were horrible.
Well, just their lack of urgency.
Right.
They're huddling up, running the play clock down to like 3 scores. He was right. That is what you want from a color commentator.
Yeah.
You want him to put up the red flag saying, this is not normal. This is not good enough in the National Football League. If I was the quarterback of this team, this would not be happening this way. And so, I thought Troy Aikman was outstanding Monday night in his analysis of the Dolphins. That is a weird team. It is a weird team because, like you said, they were in playoff contention in that football game, and they acted like their season was over. Now, Tua's history in the cold is not good.
In the cold, and somebody made a good point on the text line, Wes in Clarksville. After all those concussions and all that, I'm surprised that they gave him that big money.
There's no way I would have done it. There's no way.
Well, and he's only in year 1 of this extension. Only in year 1. If they cut him after this year, I believe it would be $99 million in dead cap.
Wow.
That's a lot of money to eat. So
how much did the Broncos eat with Russell? 70?
Yeah.
I think it was like 70.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. So I guess you can't really cut him. Maybe you draft a guy and have Tua just be your backup, a very highly paid backup for 1 year, and then they have a potential out. They can get out after next year with only $34 million in dead cap. So maybe that's the way they have to approach it.
Also, if you cut him after June, you can spread it out over 2 years.
That is true. So maybe that's the plan: is they designate him post June 1st and just cut your losses. But it does make for an interesting situation with the Dolphins that they now become a team that's probably going to try and trade up and get a quarterback this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
they got 6 wins.
Unless Quinn,
they're going to have to trade way up.
Right. Unless Quinn Ewers comes out in these last 3 weeks and shows a real spark. I mean, he was a 7th-round pick for a reason.
Yeah.
I don't really envision that happening. Right now, they hold the 11th overall pick. And starting Quinn Ewers, I would guess that will get a little bit higher. So maybe they end up in the 7, 8, 9 range by the end of the year.
Yeah. They can hope.
I think that would be another suitor to come up and try and trade for a quarterback.
Maybe that's the real reason for benching him. Give yourself a best chance to get into the top 10.
Right, and it doesn't cost you quite as much if you do want to go up. But that is the real reason for hope for the Titans right now of having a trade partner is there are a lot of desperate teams for a quarterback.
Well, and it's really interesting because you look at like Mariota and Winston. They were 1 and 2. They were both starters. Both had some success as starters.
Both still in the league. 10 years later,
that's what you look at Kyler and Tua.
Yeah,
both have had some success in the league.
Right,
but you kind of feel like at this point they're just not good enough to get you where you need to go. Are they going to? Is one of them going to get a chance to start somewhere next year? And if they do, is it just like the first 4 weeks while they warm up the new guy?
I think Kyler, yes. I think Kyler is going to be a bridge option for somebody like the Colts or the Steelers because the Colts, they can't draft a quarterback this year that can start immediately. I think that could be an option. Tua, I don't think so. I think Tua is going to have to do the,
backup
Sam Darnold rehabilitation route and try and build himself back up to be a valuable starter. But you look now at some of these teams that might need a quarterback sitting in the top 15 picks. Does Cleveland believe Shedeur is the guy long term?
Depends who you talk to. Some people think he's the Messiah.
There's still a couple of weeks left for them to figure out what they want to do.
Yeah.
If Shedeur blows up the last 3 weeks, maybe they give him a full year. But if it looks more like it did against Chicago,
well, if they make Josina Anderson their GM, he's going to get a 10-year, $400 million extension.
The Jets obviously need a quarterback. I think that's the team that everybody's looking at and saying they probably will make a trade up with all those assets.
The Raiders need a quarterback.
The Raiders need a quarterback. You'd think they'd be in position that they wouldn't have to trade up.
Yeah.
Arizona. Does New Orleans believe in Tyler Shuck? I would say maybe at this point.
I think they're starting to lean in that direction.
The Rams could want a quarterback. The Dolphins could want a quarterback. There's a lot of teams that are going to be looking to go get their guy.
Well, and there's just not that many good quarterbacks in this class.
Right.
And that's why, I look at like the Raiders. Do they go get Kyler Murray or Tua?
And
make it
try and sell off that pick or draft Fernando Mendoza.
Well, I mean, maybe the quarterback isn't there for them to take. Maybe they're picking second.
I'm just operating under the assumption that the Raiders are picking first based on the way they're playing.
Well,
right
I mean,
now.
The Giants have got to win a game.
They play the Raiders.
Okay, the Giants have got to win a game. I mean,
again, if you're a Titans fan out there, root for a tie in that game. that is the easiest way for the Titans to get the number 1 pick.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. The Raiders look like absolute garbage, but the Giants haven't won in a long time, and the quarterback continues to put himself in serious danger and thinks that it's not a problem.
Right. 5 out of 10 starts, he's gotten evaluated for a concussion.
And doesn't understand why.
Right. And he's saying that he's not going to stop playing the way he plays.
He will stop because he'll stop playing. And we joke about it. This is a serious issue.
No, it is.
He's going to wind up with CTE or worse.
Right. This is life-changing stuff. I honestly would not be shocked if Tua is retired within the next 2 years.
I knew Frank Wycheck pretty well.
Yeah.
I spent quite a bit of I didn't spend Mark Howard time with him, but I was with him on a lot of road trips, for the preseason and in the regular season when we used to travel with the team. Because he used to do the color.
Yeah.
And so I'd see him on the plane, talk. I used to cover him when he played for the team. And I know where he was and then some of the struggles that he had after. It is very sad. It's very sad. And I think about that when I think of Jackson Dart. And I'm like, brother, you need to take this seriously.
Right.
Because you're going to turn your head into a mashed potato. All right. It is not this indestructible thing. All right. You got some bone there, and then your brain.
Right.
And your brain right now is taking hits.
The Giants, I think, they're pretty firmly committed to Jackson Dart, but that is a major concern for him, for that team, that he has to be able to avoid taking those hits like he has.
He won't make it 3 years at this pace.
No. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Again, the breaking news in the NFL, Tua Tagovailoa has been benched for Quinn Ewers. So the Dolphins will be going with the rookie the rest of the way. Miami likely going to be looking for a quarterback, and you think this might spell the end for Mike McDaniel too.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been talking about that for a while.
He almost saved his job.
He's an odd duck.
He is.
I mean, when you talk about like that leader of men, no.
Right.
No. I
That's
don't think he fits that category.
No, he does not.
So first round quarterbacks, you've got Mendoza and you've got Moore from Oregon.
Yeah.
Beyond that, what are you feeling good about?
I think you're hoping Ty Simpson has a huge playoff.
Well, and but Simpson and Sayan, the playoffs could totally rewrite their value.
Right. Well, Sayan is not draft eligible,
Okay.
so he can't come out until next year.
Okay.
But Simpson is, if he has a huge playoff and teams start to, all right, maybe this guy is a top 5 worthy pick, he would probably come out. I think the more likely scenario is Simpson goes back to school.
He's got a 5th year?
No, he's only a redshirt sophomore.
Oh, I thought he waited 4 years or waited 3 years.
I'm pretty sure he's only a sophomore, or this is only his 3rd year in college.
I thought he had waited 3 years.
So he can definitely, yes, he's a junior. So yeah, he's got 1 year left. He can go back. I think that would be the move at this point based on where his draft stock is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Mendoza and Moore. I think I said it to you last week. I'm comparing it to like the Goff Wentz year. Neither of those guys are like game changers. I don't think there are teams who are like, he's a can't miss prospect, but they're definitely good enough that teams are going to be willing to come up and get them.
I like Goff a lot. I watched him play in that bowl game.
Yeah.
He threw 5 touchdowns. I'm like, this dude can sling it.
Well, and that's what I said yesterday. I said, if you're a Titans fan and you don't have a dog in the fight in the playoff, root for Oregon, Indiana, and Alabama, and root for their quarterbacks to have huge games.
Just blow up.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. I will continue talking Titans on the other side. We'll get into some college football at the top of the hour. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, wrapping up hour number 1 on this Wednesday. News across the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa has been benched as the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. Quinn Ewers will start this week, and likely going to see Mike McDaniel be fired.
Well, and it's interesting because I guess we should have brought up here. Coaching matters.
Yes.
You're talking about Mike McDaniel. Now, Tua's limited. We've always known that.
Right.
That's why we always thought it was a stretch because he throws the slant over the middle. And beyond that.
And when Tyreek Hill was at his best and you had Jalen Waddle.
Tyreek Hill was just so fast. He was just open because nobody could stay with him.
Right. And
so you could just throw it up.
Raheem Mostert had a huge year a couple of years ago. When you surrounded Tua with competent people, he looked competent.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, it has not looked that good. And again, we said $99 million in dead cap. So likely he will still be around, but not the starter next year.
No. If you're going to bench him, he's not going to be on the team.
I
think post June 1, and Denver did it with Russell Wilson, and they ate like $70 million. I think they're going to be willing, because if you draft a quarterback and you're like eating $45 million a year in dead cap, you can just say, well, that's what we would be paying a starting quarterback,
right? And
we're just going to take that with our rookie quarterback. I think that's how you justify it. But we're moving on. We're moving on. That would be my guess.
Okay, so here is the post June 1st release. So if they cut him before June 1st, $99 million in dead cap, you lose $42 million against the cap this year. But if you cut him post June 1st, it's $67 million in dead cap this year, $32 million next year. Yeah. And you only lose about $11 million when you put the savings versus the dead cap.
Yeah.
So
I would still bet it's going to be one of those two.
Yeah.
I can't see him still being on the team and not be the starter.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think you're probably right that he is probably going to be gone, and the Dolphins are going to have to start pretty much completely over. Wes in Clarksville asked, "What do you think of Mike McDaniel to the Titans? I think you will need a job." That was a popular name early in the season after Brian Callahan got fired. Was, hey, do we pair a Robert Saleh with a Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator?
Yeah. Well, he's got Devin Achane, who he's used really successfully.
Right.
They got on that win streak because they just started giving the ball to Achane, put the game in his hands.
Go get Jeremiah Love.
Yeah. So, and like you said, Raheem Mostert had big years there. And so he has been able to marry the two. He comes from the San Francisco, from the Shanahan tree. Yep. So, there is some proof in the pudding there. There is evidence of success in his background as a coordinator. So whatever.
Yeah, I think it all just depends on. Let's figure out the head coaching hire first. I think is the big thing, because they're going to interview some offensive guys. Of course, you're going to get guys who are going to be the tandem leader of men and the quarterback developer. But you also are going to interview probably people like Robert Saleh, who are going to have to let you know, hey, this is the guy that I think will come in and develop Cam Ward.
I think it's pretty clear that Mike Borgonzi has made leader of men his number one category.
Yes. He went out of his way to say that at that trade deadline press conference.
He wants someone to come in who's going to, he's at the top of the room. Everybody knows he's in charge. And Robert Saleh, of course, is the guy who comes to mind because, he looks like he could break you in half. And he's got the scowl of intensity all the time. There are other guys out there that are, in fact, leaders of men. Mike Tomlin is a great example of a guy who came out of nowhere,
for sure,
but clearly was a leader of men.
Yep.
Right. And, Ben Johnson is a leader of men. We didn't hear much from him in Detroit, but in Chicago, clearly in command of that football team.
Right.
And so, it's going to be interesting to see, I keep bringing up Marcus Freeman. I will be surprised if he's not an NFL head coach next year.
Really?
Yeah, because there are other teams that are interested.
I've seen that the Giants apparently are very interested in him as well.
Yeah, it's the only way I think he's not an NFL coach next year is if he just wants to stay in college. That's because I think somebody's
going to offer him
that job.
Yeah,
I think, look, if you get him in your office, I don't know how you're not going to be impressed, unless he bombs it, unless he doesn't have a good plan, whatever, which is possible, or he wants too much. Does he want too much power? Because he's proven as a head coach, but he's not proven as an NFL head coach. He's certainly not proven as
right
now. You do have to be more of a personnel man now in college than you did before, because it's not just recruiting and developing now.
Retaining your roster.
It's retaining your roster and finding free agents who supplement your roster. So there is more to that, but not at this level. So if he comes in and he wants control of players and stuff, I mean, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I don't know if you saw the USC post yesterday of Jaden Mayava has re-signed with the USC Trojans, and it literally looks like an NFL player signing a contract extension. They've got like the graphic in the background on the TV.
But Jake,
says,
and I know
re-signed.
I was disgusted by that.
Hilarious.
Disgusted.
Like that is.
See, okay, here's why I'm not, because these scholarships that these guys have been coming in on are year to year for decades.
Yeah,
for decades. So they have been on a team option for decades.
Right.
Okay. So now it's the players.
Yeah, you're on the player option now.
Yes. And so you know what I say? Good for him. Good for him.
The picture was funny because it literally is like Jeffrey Simmons signing his contract extension at the table. Hilarious.
Look, they've been pros for a long time. Now it's just official.
It's just out in the open.
And look.
But we need contracts. What exactly are they signing?
Oh no, I agree with you.
It's it's the revenue share contracts.
Right.
There needs to be more structure to it. For certain, there needs to be more structure to it. But they're not. Nobody's until we get to the revenue share. The NIL. No one's making them give them this money.
No,
they're simply getting what they are worth.
Right.
That's it, and that's all they've ever wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting way more now than they ever wanted. The reason they're getting all this now is because the NCAA dragged their feet. If the NCAA had tossed them a bone 15 years ago, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Yeah.
But because the NCAA just wanted every darn nickel, it blew up in their face, and now it's a disaster. But Diego Pavia, if I don't know what his final tally is this year, but let's just say it's $3 million. It's the best $3 million Vanderbilt's ever spent in the history of their football program.
100%.
I mean, come on. Let's be serious here. They sold out every game at First Bank Stadium.
Yep.
They're on ESPN every week. All right? It would have been – it's like when Cam Newton, what did he supposedly get, like $140 grand at Auburn? The best $140 grand ever spent at Auburn.
Right.
And so, I mean, look, these coaches are getting $8-10 million a year. Bah.
And you mentioned Diego Pavia. We're going to talk about him coming up next. Hour number 2 coming up. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis from News 2, Parker Kelly broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Second hour of the show, and when Cory's been in here for pretty much the last 2 months, we've had conversations about the Heisman Trophy and whether Diego Pavia could win it, and of course, we now have that answer. Fernando Mendoza wins the Heisman Trophy in a landslide on Saturday night. Diego Pavia comes up short as the runner-up. Cory, first off, we'll get into some of the aftermath from the Heisman ceremony, but your reaction to 25% of voters leaving Diego Pavia off their ballots completely, not just putting him second or third, but not voting him at all. Not the only reason he lost. Fernando Mendoza had over 600 first-place votes, but a large reason why Diego Pavia lost by so much.
Yes. Well, I guess my biggest surprise was it wasn't closer.
Yes.
I thought Mendoza, I voted for Pavia, but Mendoza's second and Jeremiah Love third. That was my ballot. I put that out on Twitter that night.
I think that would have been my ballot, too, if I was a voter.
And it's one of the easiest ballots I ever filled out, and I've been voting a really long time. So I did, and look, I thought Mendoza would win, okay, because he went 13-0 and he was the last one to play.
We said it last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought he would, but I thought it would be much closer. And when you say 25% of the people left him off their ballot, there's no way. I mean, look, I know some people are going to leave him off their ballot. It's just going to happen. I mean, because somebody's going to see it differently, and they're going to like Jeremiah Love, and then they're going to say, well, I like Sayin, or I like the linebacker.
Yeah, like I understand if it's, hey, I want to go best quarterback. I think Love deserves it, and I'm going to put a defensive player on there.
But for 1 in 4 voters to not put him on their ballot at all,
over 200 of them,
that means that we just don't like him.
Yes,
and it became a test of personality. And for me, it was never a test of personality. It never is. All right. It never is. It's who's the best player. Okay. And so that's why it was easy for me. And so it is a shame that people let their dislike of a program or of a player, because of his mom or because of something he said,
his brothers or
that they let that interfere, and I had people tweeting me, especially from Indiana, character counts, Mendoza's a saint. And I mean, Mendoza's a statue, right? I mean, he's a rehearsed statue. And, look, like I said, I don't begrudge him winning. These were the 4 best players in college football this year.
Yeah.
Well, Sayin's not the best player on his team. So there were the 3 best players and another guy.
And Julian Sayin deserves some credit. Like, he did well, but he was given a much better situation than anybody else.
5th best player on his team at best.
Right.
But so you're splitting hairs here. You really are. I got a lot of hate on Twitter when I posted my ballot.
Yeah.
A lot. And you read some of it.
Yes.
And it was mostly from 3 groups. Tennessee fans who hate Vanderbilt and Pavia because they just got their tails waxed by him. When he said that's exactly what he was going to do.
Yep.
Indiana fans who evidently just winning the Heisman wasn't enough. They wanted every first place vote to go to Mendoza.
Right. They thought it should have been unanimous.
Yes. And I have no idea how. And then like, I had a lot of people accusing me of being a homer. And I'm like, I'm far from a homer. I mean, if you've
paid attention.
I've watched him play. I've watched him play a lot.
Yeah.
And been amazed. And then there were a lot of Texas Tech fans who were really angry that their guy didn't get more consideration.
Right.
And I'm like, your guy didn't have the ball in his hands every play. It's going to be really hard for him to win. It's going to be really hard.
I think they should have invited him. Seeing the final vote totals, you can have a 5th finalist. Yeah. I think he deserved an invite because when you have a chance to invite a defensive player, I think you should do it.
Well, I think I think there's probably a mathematical formula, like a percentage that you need to be there.
Yeah.
And I think everybody would know. I think everybody would know it was a token.
I guess that's true.
Like a token defensive player.
Yeah. Joey from Gallatin says, I never had an issue with Pavia and his attitude before the Heisman ceremony. And Will from Nashville says best player includes character. Pavia's character is an issue. I don't know if character is the right word. Like, Pavia is not a bad person.
No. I mean, we were with him last Wednesday when he was at the athletic store buying Christmas gifts for Special Olympians with his own money. He was a regular visitor for the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. And I think maybe the most important thing that no one talks about, if he is such a horrible person, how has he been a culture changer at every school he's gone to?
Yeah. Character, I don't think is the right word. If you want to talk about attitude,
yeah,
and some of his behavior,
yeah,
sure, there are clear flaws there, and he reinforced them after the ceremony with the post on Instagram and the sign in the club. Like,
those were terrible decisions,
right? It's bad decisions, and he's got an attitude that can turn some people away. But
it's why he's great,
right? And character is not the right word. And again, we had somebody say locker room cancer.
Yeah.
The locker room,
anything but,
loves him. Loves him.
And has loved him at every school he's been to.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, he was at New Mexico State and they went and won at Auburn. They won 10 games. All right. Not a great tradition at that school. Not. But he completely turned it. And I mean, Vanderbilt's never won 10 games before in a regular season.
Right.
Vanderbilt knocked off LSU. All right. Who else did they beat this year? Auburn.
They beat Auburn.
Missouri.
They beat Tennessee on the road.
They murdered Tennessee.
They blew out South Carolina on the road.
They blew out Virginia Tech on the road. I mean, you could say, well, this team was this. Like, those were all teams they never would have beaten before Pavia.
Yeah.
All right. So, if you want to say, well, I don't like him, his character's bad, I think you're just looking at it from 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
And you don't know. And look, I don't know Diego Pavia intimately. I don't.
I've met him one time, and he seemed like a pretty nice person the time I met him.
But I know the player that he is. I know the effect he's had on every program he's been in. And I've heard from people about how active he is in helping others. And, I'm sorry if you don't like it that you're going to tell him he stinks and he is going to put it right back in your face. That's part of what makes him great. It's probably 99% of what makes him great.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of the dog in you, and he's
900% dog.
Yes, and he did not handle losing the way he should have, and we can talk about that a little bit more on the other side.
He's got to learn to handle. Like, you can have failure drive you, but publicly you need to handle it with a little bit more, just like with winning, you need to handle it with a little more grace and humility. And I'm sure Clark Lee would tell you that. I'm sure Candace Lee would tell you that. But young man made a mistake, owned up to it the next day.
Yep.
Put out a lengthy statement apologizing for it. And again, if you're saying he shouldn't have gotten a vote because he's a bad person, you just didn't like him.
Right.
You just didn't
like the attitude. And, the voters have their ballots for a reason.
Yes.
And they clearly did not want to vote for Diego Pavia. When over 200 of the voters don't put you on their ballot at all, there's something going on there. Yeah. And we can talk more about that on the other side. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to get involved, our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tonight, Vanderbilt men's basketball takes on Memphis with a 6:00 p.m. tip-off, and the pregame show starts at 5:30 on 94.9 The Fan. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Tonight on Totally Hits 93.3, catch MTSU men's basketball as the Blue Raiders take on Kennesaw State at 6:30. Coverage is also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Looking back at the Heisman ceremony, the winner, Fernando Mendoza, got well over 600 first-place votes. Diego Pavia left off of 25% of ballots, ends up being the runner-up. And, Cory, we talked about it during the break. My big issue with the whole process of the Heisman Trophy this year was the Big Ten championship game. Whole game, Diego Pavia is trending upwards. You're looking at the betting odds, and it's saying Diego Pavia is starting to become a heavier favorite the entire game as it's a defensive struggle between Ohio State and Indiana. That one third down throw made Fernando Mendoza the odds-on, almost impossible for him to lose favorite. And I was saying it, I think it was Josh Pate who said this earlier this week, that if you just looked at those odds, you would have thought Fernando Mendoza lit up that Ohio State defense for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, and they won 45-20.
He did not.
No, he did not. He threw 1 touchdown pass, a little over 200 yards, and they won 13-10.
And he completed a third down to an open receiver.
And the Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, I'm not saying that this is the reason Pavia lost.
That's Gus Johnson.
But them declaring him the Heisman winner, just give it to him now. I'm sure that swayed some voters. Maybe not a lot. And I said maybe 30 or 40%. You said it's probably closer to 10. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle there, maybe 10 to 20. But it is kind of ridiculous that basically that one throw went from Pavia is a slight favorite, it's going to be close, to there is zero chance Diego Pavia wins the trophy. It's Fernando Mendoza's.
Well, I don't think those odds knew that Pavia was going to be left off of 25% of ballots.
Right. I agree with that.
And he was off those ballots before that game was ever played. Okay. Because that throw didn't get Mendoza on the ballot and Pavia off.
That is a very good point. That those 25% of voters, they had decided at the end of the regular season that Diego Pavia was not good enough to be in their top 3 of Heisman voting, which is crazy.
And they probably had, and I have to see those ballots, most of them probably had Mendoza, Love,
Rodriguez,
or Sand.
I mean, there's the one, Parker, who was the Tennessee beat reporter who put his ballot out.
Mike Wilson.
Mike Wilson had Jeremiah Smith, Fernando Mendoza, Caleb Downs as his 3. And it's like, sure. Like, Jeremiah Smith's really good. Caleb Downs is really good player, going to be a top 10 pick in the draft. But are you really going to tell me that you watched Diego Pavia in Neyland Stadium in person and didn't think that he was worthy of being on that ballot?
Yeah. I mean, that's I'm not going to criticize other voters.
No, I
would just, look, if you're going to ask me of all the players, which one's going to be drafted the highest? Yeah, it's Jeremiah Smith.
Well, I mean, maybe Fernando Mendoza.
Well,
he might go first overall.
Yeah, I know, but if Jeremiah Smith was coming out this year,
I think Jeremiah Smith may be the he's got a good chance to be the first wide receiver to go number 1 overall since Keyshawn.
Yeah. I mean, he's really,
because looking ahead to next year.
Yeah.
Are there any quarterbacks that
Sellers?
But Sellers,
if he comes back and has a good year, I'm just telling you, if he comes back and has a good year, he'll be number 1.
Yeah, well, he could be. He definitely has the traits.
And if Moore goes back to Oregon, then he'll be hyped as well. And we talked about it before this year when we had the 5 guys that were projected to be number 1 picks. So I said, it's not going to end that way.
No, and none of them are in the conversation anymore.
So it's not going to end that way next year. But I'm just telling you, if Sellers goes and has a big year at South Carolina, he's gonna be the number 1 pick.
Well, you know who is one big year away from being the surefire number 1. Just announced he's coming back to school. Arch Manning.
Yeah.
If Arch Manning has a good year at Texas next year, he'll be the number 1 pick.
Yeah, he would probably, just based on his lineage, get drafted over Jeremiah Smith.
But if those guys do what we saw from the top quarterbacks this year and are just kind of middling, Jeremiah Smith would not be a reach at number 1 overall.
He will be a dominant NFL player.
Yeah.
I mean, he just will be. And I mean, you've seen, but you see what Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. By the way, the Vikings scored 34 points and won on a night where they completed 2 passes for 22 yards to Justin Jefferson. How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know why Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy just seemingly do not have any
because
chemistry
JJ McCarthy's not that good.
Well, he's not that
why.
good, but it's like, man, you should, even if you're an average quarterback,
you should be able to
complete passes to the best receiver in the league.
I mean, it's like Jacoby Brissett. He takes over in Arizona. Have you seen Trey McBride's numbers?
Yeah.
I mean, he's over 100 catches now for over 1,000 yards, and he's a tight end, but he's the best player on their team.
Yep.
And they get him the football. And because, like you said, an average quarterback knows what to do.
Right. When you have a player like that, you can put the ball in his hands and let him do what he does. I think Jeremiah Smith could very well be the number one pick.
So, but that's not the Heisman is not based on draft status.
It's not
or what a guy will do in the NFL.
Right. It's based on that one season. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at what Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs did this season, it's not better than what Diego Pavia did.
No, it's not close.
A lot of questions have been raised about Diego Pavia, the aftermath, and does this affect his draft stock? And I think it becomes a question that teams have to ask.
Yes.
About, hey, you can't, is your family going to behave?
Yeah.
If you're our backup and our starting quarterback has a bad game, are you going to be putting on social media posts about you should be starting and all that kind of stuff?
Are you going to be a problem?
Right. Because the last thing that NFL teams want in their backup quarterback is a distraction.
Yeah, they don't want a loudmouth
and
the backup quarterback.
And I think that's partially why Shedeur Sanders fell.
Absolutely.
Shedeur Sanders was not a guy.
He was a story every week where he was on the depth chart.
He was not a guy who teams valued as an immediate starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. And they said, we don't want to deal with the headache of every time our starting quarterback has a bad game, the fan base is screaming for us to start Shedeur.
Well, I mean, even look at it now. I mean, he has a good game against the Titans, and he is crowned the Messiah.
Right.
He has a bad game against the Bears, and everybody's making every excuse in the world for him.
Yeah.
Oh, well, his teammates are terrible. Stefanski's terrible. He was bad.
He was not good. I will say
he was bad.
I will say he was not helped out that the interception that Jerry.
Okay, but what about the two other ones?
I know.
He threw 3.
Right.
All right. They scored 3 points.
No, he was not good. But the one interception, I remember I was watching that live and I thought he threaded the needle and Judy caught it. And then I see Jalen Johnson celebrating in the back of the end zone.
I mean, look, and I agree with you. Guys have to make plays, but we're allowed to criticize. We're allowed to expect more. We're allowed to say he's a rookie. He's going to have good games. He's going to have bad games. It doesn't mean Shedeur is going to be an all-pro quarterback. It doesn't mean he's going to be a bust. Let's just let him play. This constant back and forth about, we have the same garbage here with Cam Ward half the time.
Yeah.
Where we want to like week to week crown him, the franchise or bury him. Yes. Just let him play.
Yeah.
And figure out where you are.
No, it is ridiculous with young quarterbacks of you live and die week to week based on their performance. And it's like it's an accumulation of all of the reps that they have.
I mean, we haven't talked about with Cam, 2 touchdown passes back-to-back games.
Right.
That's progress. But you know what he's also had back-to-back games?
Missed a wide open
2
touchdown.
Big throws.
Yeah.
And so there's stuff that's better and there's still stuff that needs to get better. Guess what? He's a rookie quarterback. And there's some stuff that you can only really fix in the offseason. And accuracy and footwork are 2 of them.
Right. You're not fixing that in a 3-day practice week getting ready for another game. So we will talk more about Cam Ward coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. Just an overarching view of his development and what he needs to work on heading into his second season. But coming up next, a little more somewhat breaking news in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Merklinger, the quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers, likely going to enter the transfer portal. So we will talk about that next and maybe what the Vols planet quarterback could be. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. The Game Nashville Sports Network is your home for college football bowl games and the college football playoffs, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment. Today on Sports Talk 8:30, starting at 4 o'clock, it's Old Dominion and South Florida in the Cure Bowl, followed by Louisiana and Delaware in the Ventures Bowl. For a list of games carried on the Game Nashville Sports Network, visit thegamenashville.com/bowl games. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Catching up on some news and notes going on right now around the sports world. Tyreek Hill just threw up the deuces on Twitter. So looks like he will be moving on. Not a surprise there. Also not a huge surprise. We teased it heading into the break that Jake Merklinger for Tennessee is going to enter the transfer portal. Always kind of felt like he was the odd man out in that room. You've got a 5-star in George McIntyre who sat on the bench this year. You've got another 5-star in Faison Brandon who's coming in. So Merklinger, I don't think really had a spot there. The question becomes, does Tennessee trust one of those young guys to be their starting quarterback next season, or do they feel like they need to go into the portal to get someone with experience?
Do you want to say Adam Sparks reported that he was citing Hayes Fawcett as the guy who broke that news? And look, if I'm George McIntyre, you're going to be competing with the kid from, where is he from? North Carolina?
Yes.
Yeah. You're going to be competing with him. But if they bring in a guy from the transfer portal, I know like the Cincinnati starter.
Yeah, Brendan Sorsby.
He's entering the portal. He's got ties to Knoxville. If they said they were going to bring him in and I were George McIntyre, I'd be like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
And you could say, oh, well, you got to put in your time. No, I'm putting in my time. You don't believe in me. Because, I mean, at that point, you don't believe in me. That's what that says to me.
Well, and Brandon coming in is a higher rated prospect than McIntyre was.
Yeah.
So you kind of get sandwiched in between. If they bring in a transfer guy this year, it's like, all right, I'm not starting this year.
And I'm not starting next year either.
Next year, I'm probably going to get passed up.
Yeah.
Because
that's what they're saying.
Right.
They're saying we need a guy to get us to this guy because you're not ready.
You're not ready.
You're not good enough.
The only problem with Sorsby, I talked to someone yesterday who's really close to the situation. And he said Sorsby's asking price is $4 million right now.
Which is
Would
crazy.
you go out and pay that for 1 year? And like, this guy wasn't even in the running for Big 12 Player of the Year or anything like that.
Right.
He's a really good quarterback, but $4 million for 1 year?
I guess
is it worth it?
Is that just the price of a starting an experienced starting quarterback?
I think that's the bigger question. Is that just the price now?
If it's $4 million for Sorsby, what are Lagway and Raiola going to get? Guys who have played a ton of football and
what about
were
Mestamaker?
5-star guy. Yeah, Drew Mestamaker out of North Texas.
Yeah, but I mean, Lagway's not good.
But there are going to be teams out there who are going to.
Yes,
I can fix him.
Yes,
it's like he's got the big arm. He's got the big frame.
You know what else?
He can run.
You know what else there are? Teams that don't have a quarterback.
Yes,
and they're like, we have got to get somebody in here. Just pay him. And there may be somebody who thinks that, one of these guys makes us a national title contender.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically.
I'm trying to think through some of these schools that have been rumored. Texas Tech is a team that is going to go out and make a splash at quarterback.
They've made it clear that's their blueprint. We're going to buy a team.
We're going to spend the best team money can buy.
Yes.
And Sorsby is a name that's been floated there too because his girlfriend plays volleyball and she just transferred to Texas Tech.
Okay. I'm guessing some money got floated her way.
Yes. So there's that connection. I know we were talking yesterday about, Parker saying that Sorsby's family lives in Knoxville, and he was asked last year, what road venue would you want to play at? And he said Tennessee. Yeah. So there's ties there. But Lagway and Raiola are interesting ones because
I think Raiola probably makes some money somewhere.
Louisville was a name I think I saw floated yesterday by someone. That one would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon.
Yeah. If Dante Moore leaves, they're probably going to have to go out and get somebody. I don't know where, are there going to be SEC teams that want DJ Lagway or Dylan Raiola?
Well, Indiana's going to need a quarterback next year.
That is true.
And they've done the one and done thing twice to a lot of success. So I could see them bringing in somebody like that.
They just continue to go up in pedigree among these guys. It's like they brought in Rourke, who was from Ohio, and then you go from Cal with Mendoza, and now you're going big. You're getting
Cincinnati.
Five-star Dylan Raiola after 2 seasons in Nebraska. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go back to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam in Portland is on the line. Adam, thanks for calling. What you got for us today?
Well, this is the question, man. How specific of a quarterback does Tennessee need? Because we've seen not everybody can run the offense, right? Joe Milton couldn't do it. Nico could not run it right. And then we've seen what it looks like with Joey, who people had a lot of questions about but he ran that offense really well. It seems like it's a specific kind of quarterback, though, that you need. Like, you can't just go get any quarterback. Somebody has to be able to run this specific offense, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
I think he's right. Because that was the whole thing about Joey. He could run the offense fast.
Yeah.
And so the cerebral part is a really important part in the Josh Heupel offense. And I think also being able to throw the deep ball is another part. That's something that Joey did pretty well this year.
Yeah.
That, obviously, the predecessors didn't do too well. They made him able to throw it far, but they didn't always hit the target.
And that is a very good point from Adam in Portland, is that Josh Heupel's offense, talent hasn't really mattered at quarterback.
No.
If you lined up Hendon Hooker, Nico Iamaleava, Joe Milton, and Joey Aguilar, it's pretty clear Nico and Joe Milton are the most talented quarterbacks among those. Joey Aguilar, a former JUCO guy. Hendon Hooker was discarded at Virginia Tech. They didn't want him anymore. And in the NFL. But they knew how to run that offense. I do wonder if you can find a 5-star with tons of talent like Brandon or McIntyre, and they can run the offense, that's what gets you in a national title conversation.
Yeah.
When you have a quarterback who is not only able to run the offense, but he's also an NFL prospect, a guy who can go number 1 in the draft. Are one of those guys going to be that, or do you have to keep looking in the portal for people who have that cerebral ability to run this offense?
Well, and then that's the question. Can George McIntyre run the offense at that pace? Because if he can't, then he shouldn't be a part of your future.
Yeah.
If Josh Heupel's your coach.
Yeah.
You've simply got to find somebody who can. And that doesn't mean those guys can't be good quarterbacks in other systems. But like you're talking about for Josh Heupel's system, there are different things that are important that don't necessarily play out to the NFL, but they do play out to winning a lot of games in college football.
That was the conversation when Hendon Hooker left, was like, wow, look at what Hendon Hooker did. He was in the Heisman conversation. Imagine what Nico can do. That was kind of Hendon wasn't this kind of prospect. Imagine what Nico can do. And it just didn't work.
Well, he was the MVP of the Music City Bowl.
Yes.
In his first game.
Yes.
And, so there was, and it was, look, that wasn't a blockbuster performance. But for a guy making his first start,
right, that
was good. It's like Milton. His first game was the Orange Bowl.
Yes.
And you were like, wow.
The hype train left the station in a big way.
He looked good. Guys. And then he threw for like 89 yards against Austin Peay. And you were just like, what is happening here?
So Tennessee is going to be one of the focal points of the transfer portal to see what they think of their young quarterbacks, right? Do they believe one of those guys can come in and immediately be the guy? And I know McIntyre's been there for a year, but there are going to be a lot of talented quarterbacks who hit the portal, because
if they look in the portal's only one time now, right?
Right. It is January 2nd through January 15th. That is it.
Okay. So I'm still waiting on George McIntyre. If they bring in, if it becomes evident they're bringing somebody in, I would not count out George McIntyre hitting the portal.
Yeah.
And I don't know George McIntyre. I'm just saying, if I were him and I heard they were bringing in somebody, I'd be like, deuces, I'm out.
Right. You lose a year of eligibility. He was able to redshirt this year, but it's like you lose a year of eligibility if you sit another year, and then you're another year back in. If he wants to make it to the NFL, you got to wait another year.
You can't tell me he couldn't go someplace and start.
No, I mean, definitely. I think just having the 5-star or highly rated recruit next to your name, it's going to get people interested.
Yeah.
Right. That's why DJ Lagway and Dylan Raiola are probably going to get paid a lot of money in the portal.
Okay. Another school we haven't talked about is Miami.
Right. Miami's going to go pay for somebody.
They're going to pay for somebody.
Yep. I mean, they did it with Cam Ward. They did it to a larger degree with Carson Beck. They paid him $4 million.
Yeah. I could really see them with Raiola.
I think so too. I think that's a good fit. Sellers was the guy who was rumored to be Miami bound, but he just re-signed with South Carolina.
Somebody came through there.
So it's going to be a whirlwind. That 2-week period is going to be a lot like NFL free agency.
Yeah.
Of like, you're going to get these On3 and 247 and Pete Thamel all reporting, Dylan Raiola has agreed to terms to become the next quarterback at Miami. We're going to get a ton of that. And having it be just the one window makes it so much more urgent for these teams.
Yeah, I do like the one window better than two. I mean, it was because you were having to re-recruit your team over and over and over again.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, the Nico thing won't happen again, where you go through spring practice and then lose your starting quarterback.
Yeah, I look, and I think most guys know where they stand with their team after the season is over.
Right.
And coaches can have an honest conversation with them. And look, that might be a fallacy. But to know where do I stand with this team.
That's true. And I think that Tennessee has probably communicated with George McIntyre of, hey, either we're going to have an open competition with you and Brandon, and you guys are going to go in and the winner is going to start, or it's, hey, we want to go get someone with some more experience. You're going to be on the bench.
Or we're going to bring in somebody with some experience, but it's to have an experienced guy to back one of you two guys up.
Yes. And I think the same conversation could be had on West End too, of what's the conversation with Jared Curtis? Is it you are coming in and you are the starter? Is it, hey, we're going to bring in an experienced guy for you to compete with? Or similar, we're going to bring in an experienced guy, but he's just there, break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, I think the Jared Curtis thing it's fascinating. It's great that he's going to be there in the spring. I just think the levels that he's jumping up to.
Right.
It's a massive, massive jump. And that doesn't mean I don't think he can do it. I would tread carefully.
It's going to be an adjustment.
I would tread carefully. That's all. And I could be wrong. He could just walk right in and be like, wow. But, you don't know until you know.
Right.
You don't know until you do it.
There's been plenty of freshmen who have come in and immediately look like they belong, and a lot who have needed time to develop.
Yeah.
And we'll see with both these guys, with Brandon from Tennessee, McIntyre, whoever it is, and Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to text or call, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll wrap up hour number 2 after this. Coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, we'll dive in on Cam Ward's development. What's gotten better? What is still concerning? And why quarterback development as a whole has kind of fallen behind. Tom Brady had some thoughts on this a couple weeks ago. We'll talk about all of it coming up in the final hour of the show. We'll wrap up hour number 2 after this. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game, Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Finishing up the second hour of the show, we're going to talk Cam Ward coming up at 11. But wrapping up this hour, I saw this tweet from Dane Brugler, and I mentioned this to you off air, Cory. Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst from The Athletic, he tweeted out, Miami defensive lineman Ruben Bain will be one of the more polarizing prospects in this class. Plenty of day 2 grades from NFL scouts, viewed as a defensive tackle by several teams due to his size, 6'2", 277, and just under 31-inch arms. So I thought that was interesting, considering when we talk about guys the Titans could take in the top 10, it's been Arvell Reese, it's been Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, and Ruben Bain's been right in there since the very beginning. It does seem like he is slipping down projected draft boards because he may not be that prototypical edge that a lot of teams like to take early on in the draft.
Look, if you're picking in the top 10, you don't have to take chances.
No.
There are other players to take. He is still going to be one of the top, 40 players off the board?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to completely knock him down the board, but I guess it's similar to the conversation about Peter Skoronski.
Yeah.
Of is he a tackle? Is he a guard? Mm-hmm. If he was a pure left tackle, he's probably a top 5 pick in that 2023 draft.
Yeah.
But because he was a guard, still maybe the best lineman in the draft, but he goes at 11.
You see his build.
Right.
He's a guard.
He's a guard. Yeah, and I think that's the same thing with Ruben Bain. It's all right, he's still a really good player, but is he the game-changing, stand-up edge rusher that every team is looking for? Probably not.
Look at Javon Curse and you see the length that he had. You look at, I guess here's what it reminded me of is a Kevin Carter. Kevin Carter was 300 pounds.
Yeah.
But, he didn't have the length that like a guy like Curse has, or, look, Nick Benito right now.
Right.
Myles Garrett. I mean, Myles Garrett is huge and he's got incredible length. And it matters because it matters keeping linemen off you. It matters reaching for the quarterback.
Right. I mean, most of these tackles have, right. We talk about Peter Skoronski and his short arms. That was a reason he couldn't play tackle because all of these edge rushers were just going to outreach him.
Yeah.
And you can't have that.
Now I say that the Titans will pick, 33rd or 34th or whatever with their second round. What if he's still there, at the top of day 2, and all of a sudden you could go Simmons, Sweat, Bain, if you put him down at a 3-point defensive end, because right now you got, Sebastian Joseph Day with those guys, and he's been a good player. But what if you could get him day 2, like up there, and you could make that your front? I mean, that might be something that interests you.
And maybe that's something you look at of, do you take a wide receiver early and then hope a guy like Bain falls to you in the second round?
Yeah.
And Ruben Bain, I think, I don't know what Danico Autry's measurements could be, but that could be the type of player that he is.
No, Danico's pretty long.
Okay. I was thinking more of a guy who, yes, he can slide in, but he can play on the outside if you need to.
Danico was a guy who was down, with a hand in the dirt a lot of times, but, under Mike Vrabel, they put him up on 2 feet. And now a lot of times in pass rushing situations, he did get with a hand in the dirt, just like Harold Landry. Harold Landry was on 2 feet, and then a lot of times they go to a 4-man front, and you'd have him, Danico, and Jeff all with their hand in the dirt. And maybe he could be that kind of guy. Maybe. Maybe he would have that versatility where most of the time he had his hand in the dirt, but once in a while, like there was a play this last week where I think I saw Jihad Ward back in pass coverage.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? What are we doing here, guys?
Yeah, I don't think he's the guy you want to be lurking in the secondary somewhere.
I'm like, get him after the quarterback. That's what he does.
Yeah, the draft, it unfolds slowly over the next 4 months. There are guys that we aren't talking about at all right now who 2 or 3 months from now are going to be consensus top 10 picks. And there's a lot of edge rushers who are being talked about. A lot of it was Bain early in the season.
Yes, it was.
Arvell Reese has kind of flipped, and he's the new number 1 pass rusher.
Although his pass rush grades aren't great the last few weeks.
And Ohio State has been dropping him back into coverage a ton too.
Trying to get him to come back next year.
Yeah. He's not that good of a pass rusher, guys. Don't worry about it. And then there's your other guys, Keldrick Falk from Auburn, Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. So there are options there. But Ruben Bain, I think, is a very interesting one of, hey, he was getting projected as maybe the first overall pick 3 weeks into the college football season. And now he might be a defensive tackle picking in the second round.
Look, and yes, he will be dissected and he should be. I will simply say it this way, though. If he can hit the quarterback, somebody's going to pick him.
Yes.
And it's that simple.
And there might be some sort of prospect fatigue too of this is a guy
he was first.
This is a guy that we've talked about a lot. Let's dive deeper into him. Oh, there's some red flags here. Maybe we throw him down the board. We see it all the time with these guys who they are the number 1, 2, or 3 pick in the way too early mock draft that comes out the night after the previous year's draft. And throughout the year, they have a microscope on them. And the only thing there is for them to do is fall down the draft board, right? You're not going to rise because you're already considered at the top. For a guy like Arvell Reese, who wasn't really talked about as much as a top 5 pick, his performance has risen him up, and everybody's looking at the good things instead of the bad.
Look, there's just not a lot of years where you've got Myles Garrett, Andrew Luck, the guy where
the guy who it's just like
that's it.
When week 18 wraps up and they release the official draft order, you might as well write the card down now and turn it in.
Yes, there's not a ton of those guys, and we're in that year this year. I mean, we all expect Mendoza to go first because we view him as the best quarterback in the draft, and there's so many teams that need that position. But beyond that, there are good players, and it's where you got them.
Yep.
I mean, it's just that simple.
Yep. And again, Ruben Bain was considered to be a top 10 pick. He very well still could be, but Dane Brugler putting out there that there are some second round grades from scouts, and the short arms may make him better fit to be a defensive tackle than a pure edge rusher.
You know who else had short arms? Aaron Donald. He had those short arms.
I would take Aaron Donald, but he went.
He was also undersized.
Did he go 11th, 12th in that draft? Something like that?
Yeah, the Rams and Jeff Fisher took him because he was also undersized. He was only about 280, 285 as a defensive tackle.
Right.
But Jeff Fisher looked at him and said, that dude can hit the quarterback and he can play. And Jeff Fisher was 100% right.
Yep. And
they ran to the podium with that pick.
I think with Bain, it probably ends up somewhere in the middle again. He probably will fall a little bit, but probably not to the second round. Somebody's going to say, this is a guy who a lot of people had as a top 5 pick. I can get him at 17 or something like that, and they're going to take him.
Yeah.
So
imagine the Lions with like Aiden Hutchinson on the outside, and then you bring in Bain on the inside. You can do that. I mean, and Hutchinson was another one with speed and length, and burst that made it pretty easy.
Right. And traits aren't everything too. You look at like Trayvon Walker.
He was second overall.
The Jaguars went with the guy with the better traits in Trayvon Walker instead of the better production in Aiden Hutchinson. And, you wish you would have taken Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, the Jags guy is good.
He's fine. Yeah.
But he's not Aiden Hutchinson.
No.
Yeah. Now you could say one's 10-4. There's 8-6 right now.
That's fair.
Yeah.
One of them went to the NFC Championship game a couple years ago, though. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. One more hour on this Wednesday morning, and we will get into Cam Ward coming up next. We talked about his game on Sunday. There was some good back-to-back games with multiple touchdown passes, but the deep ball accuracy outside the numbers has been a concern. We'll talk about what needs to get better for Cam Ward and what he has improved on throughout the season. That's coming up next. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory, Curtis, Parker, Kelly. Final hour on this Wednesday, broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Talking some Titans here to start the hour. We will talk Preds towards the end of the show. Predators back at home tonight, taking on the Carolina Hurricanes, and they've won 7 out of 10. So excited to talk some Preds, who also have a new owner in Nick Saban. We'll get into that too. But the Titans coming off another loss, but Cam Ward has shown some growth, at least statistically, the last couple of weeks. Back-to-back weeks with multiple passing touchdowns. He had not had any through the first 12 weeks of the season. So with Cam Ward, you have to look at some of the things that have gotten better. The completion percentage is going up.
He's almost to 60.
He's getting the ball in the end zone, which was a big issue, especially in the red zone early on in the season. They could not score down there. They've done that more consistently. But there's obviously a lot of red flags, and the biggest one has reared its ugly head twice in a big way the last 2 weeks, missing 2 wide open touchdowns outside the numbers down the field.
Well, the most important thing is points on the board. In 3 of the last 4 weeks, they put 24 or more on the board. That is the most important thing. And, some of that is the improved run game. Some of that is, a higher completion percentage. They're giving him easier, shorter throws to complete. That's another reason you have fewer sacks. They've 1 sack in the last 2 weeks. They're not taking so many deep shots down the field where he's got to set up and throw and
right,
because they're not built for that yet.
And he has made a conscious decision, it seems, to not hunt the deep shot as much.
No,
if the check down's open, hit the check down.
Yeah, I think that's been pounded into him pretty good, because there are times now where you're like, okay, it may have gone too far the other way.
Right. I saw TD had a tweet after, I think it was on the drive where he missed the Van Jefferson throw late in the first half, where, takes the snap, Tajay Spears releases into the flat, and he just hit him immediately. But if he had looked downfield, Chim Dike was actually releasing into some space open over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where the pendulum probably has to swing back a little bit, and he's got to find the right balance of, yes, you don't want to consistently hunt deep balls when you have stuff open underneath, but you got to be able to take the open shots when you get them.
But that was a first down play, I think.
Yes.
And that's a good play on first down, in my opinion. I understand.
Take what you can get. Yeah.
You want to get things moving forward, because they were starting that drive on the 40-yard line.
Yes. They kicked the ball out of bounds.
Yeah, they didn't need a huge shot to get that thing going. And now I agree with, if he's open, but I totally understand why that play was there, and why you give it to Tajay and you give him a chance to run out of bounds and all that stuff.
Right.
So yes, so maybe it has swung a little too far, but it needed to swing. It needed to swing.
Early in the season, he was passing up way too many open receivers because he thought he could get a bigger play downfield.
Yes. And so you're seeing better pockets. You're seeing him get rid of it faster. I wish I feel like I say this every week. There's somebody I follow on Twitter who's one of those quarterback guys.
Yeah.
And he was commenting on how the Titans coaching staff is doing a better job of giving Cam more shorter, easier passes to complete. And we're not talking about the balls behind the line of scrimmage to Chim Dike that drive us all crazy. It's more of the releases to the running backs. It's more of the throws to the tight ends, because we are seeing the tight ends usage increase a little bit. I'd like to see it still increase more.
Yeah.
They're their 2 leading receivers, 45 and 41 catches. Okay.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but they're,
right. Who else are you going to throw it to?
Yeah. And, you look at the leaps Drake May and Caleb Williams have made, and you look at their weapons are pretty good now. All right. And, I brought this up to you, I think, before the show. Cam Ward has 11 touchdown passes this year.
Yeah.
9 of them are to rookie receiving targets, wide receiver, tight end. 9. 1 is to a veteran receiver, Van Jefferson, who was supposed to be the 4 on this team.
At best, maybe even the 5.
Okay.
Because you had Tyler Lockett at the beginning of the season,
right. And you have Bryce Oliver as well.
Right.
And then 1 of them is to a defensive tackle. So That's 0 to Calvin Ridley, 0 to Tyler Lockett, 0 to Chiga Okonkwo. Okay.
Yep.
Which I don't quite understand. I'm sorry. I one of them is to Dave Martin Robinson.
Right.
So it's 8 and 2. It's not 9 and 1.
Right.
All right. I was off by 1 there. And David Martin Robinson's a second-year player.
Yes.
And so he's not throwing to Stephon Diggs and Hunter Henry and even Austin Hooper.
Or DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Colston Loveland, right.
Cole Kmet, or DeAndre Swift.
Right.
That's not making an excuse for him, but I'm just saying the two things are not even.
No.
And so if you can get some better weaponry around him that actually stays on the field, that's going to help him as well next year.
Yeah.
But, there are things in the offseason he clearly has to fix. And deep ball accuracy being one of the things at the top of the list, and footwork being the other. And those two things are probably married to a large degree.
Yeah, he clearly threw off his back foot on that throw to Van Jefferson.
He's wide open.
Yes, that was one of those plays you cannot miss, and you cannot miss as badly as he did.
Mm-hmm.
If I said it earlier in the week on Monday, same thing I said with Jim DK last week. If he has to dive to make the catch, or if he, slows down and somebody tackles him, that's fine. Like, It's not great. It should be a touchdown, but bare minimum, it has to be complete.
Yeah.
You've got to give him a chance to go get the ball.
It's like the DK ball the week before. He could have punted it to him.
Right.
If you just throw it, put some air under it in the vicinity, he's going to catch it.
He's going to catch it. Now, a perfect throw, it's a touchdown.
Yes.
But a good enough throw, it's a 30, 40-yard gain.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the throw was out of bounds.
It was out of bounds, and it was beyond the white. The Van Jefferson one.
Yes.
The Chim one was maybe a little bit closer.
Yeah.
But the Van Jefferson one was so far off that Van didn't even jump for it. Like, it was nowhere close, and that cannot happen. That is a throw that NFL quarterbacks have to be able to make.
Yes. And so, they've got to complete that. That makes it a 17-17 game at halftime.
Right.
Are the Titans still going to beat the 49ers? Probably not.
No.
But again, you're talking about progress. You're talking about the way, like I say, how are you playing, the way things, if he completes that pass, our narrative of Cam Ward in this game is completely different.
Yeah.
Because as it is, he was okay. He was okay.
Yeah. He wasn't a disaster.
I mean, he's got to complete that pass. He put 24 points on the board. There were too many 3-and-outs. He has given up on running the football again, which I do not understand. Because with them running the ball better, they weren't in 3rd and 15 all day. They had 3rd and 6. Like, I think I saw a graphic in the second half. I don't know what point in the second half it was. It said Titans average 3rd to go was 6.6 yards.
Which is way better than it was.
Yes.
I remember through 5 or 6 weeks, I think their average third down was like 8.9 or something like that.
And so you're in 3rd and 6. You're in position to run the ball as the quarterback. I just need to go get 6 yards.
Right.
You saw Brock Purdy do it. I mean, Brock Purdy had a hell of a day throwing the ball, but he also used his legs
25-yard scramble
to move the chains. And so once again, I could bring up the numbers, but they're drastic. I mean, he's only run the ball. He had those 2 games where he ran it big, and he's run it like 1 or 2 times per game since then.
Yeah.
He's just again become like, now maybe teams adapted and put a spy on him. I should back off and say I don't know if teams changed the way they defended him.
Good point.
But it doesn't even look like he looked for it in this last game. So I don't know.
Cam Ward, back-to-back games, multiple touchdown passes, but back-to-back games again, missing a wide-open receiver. And the deep accuracy, one of the big things that is going to be looked at in the offseason that he needs to improve on. In general, the Titans, their biggest goal this year, their biggest mission this offseason needs to be to develop Cam Ward and put him in the best situation to succeed next year. I came across this clip on Twitter of Tom Brady on Joel Klatt's podcast, and we'll hear that coming up next, talking about why he believes quarterback development has fallen behind the last couple of years and why so many quarterbacks are failing to turn into franchise quarterbacks. Jake Lyman, Corey Curtis, Parker Kelly with you. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Next man up here on 1025 The Game. That was Tom Brady on Joel Klatt's podcast talking about why he believes that quarterback development has struggled over the past few years. So many early round quarterbacks just not turning into the guys that they're expected to be. And I think it's a really good point that these guys, they get a ton of physical development, right? They all have private quarterback coaches. Way more physical development goes into these guys than anything back in, the 90s and early 2000s. But I think there is more of an expectation that these guys are kind of ready-made, and you come in and these coaches aren't developing them the way that they need to be ready to be an NFL quarterback.
Well, okay. Every person from the previous generation has always said the next generation is coddled and under scrutinized and soft. Okay. We had
there
it
you
harder.
Go. Yeah.
So,
Tom Brady back in my day.
Yeah. So there's a level of that, but I'll bring up another layer to this that I am a true believer in. We have changed the person that we're giving the ball to. Back in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, the best athlete on the team played running back.
Yep.
And then we changed it where we started taking the best athlete on the team, Kyler Murray, and we put the ball in his hands. Go look at Kyler Murray's Pee Wee football video. He's a linebacker, and he absolutely destroys a kid.
Yeah.
And so we started giving the best athlete on the team the football. So, look at Justin Fields. Justin Fields' body is a lot like Eddie George, is a lot like Derrick Henry.
Right.
But now he's the quarterback. All right. And so he's been the best athlete. And now we've just, and I'm not saying that the quarterback can't be the best athlete, but we're not so concerned. And I'm not saying they're all dumb. Don't get me wrong. We're not concerned with the cerebral development with the guys that we're putting in there. We're more concerned with the physical abilities and development, and then figuring out what we can run with those abilities, whether it be RPO, option, rolling him out, whatever. We'll figure it out. But give me the best athlete that you can back there. And you're seeing, Diego Pavia is a perfect example of that.
That is not a central casting quarterback from 20 years ago.
No, or from 50 years ago. Right. He's 5'9".
And you do see that it works. Like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen.
Yep.
Though they would not have played quarterback.
He would have been a wide receiver.
Ago. Yeah, Lamar would have been a wide receiver. Josh Allen probably would have been a tight end.
Yep.
Instead, they're both two of the best quarterbacks in the league because they've realized how to use their talents in a specific way to become great quarterbacks. You have to be able to do the same thing with Cam Ward. And that's why finding a good coach for Cam Ward who is able to get the most out of him is so important, because this first year has been almost a complete waste with what he's had around him in terms of development.
Well, and I think when you look at Cam Ward, he's not overly athletic. All right. He's a decent athlete, but he's not Lamar Jackson.
No.
He's not Justin Fields.
No, not at all.
And the other thing is he's been a quarterback since he's been 5 years old. This is what he does.
Yep.
And so, he does watch film. Could he learn to watch it better? Maybe. I don't know. But
and that's something that maybe a new coach could bring more insight to is, can you have somebody who can, Cam Ward watches film. We've heard all the stories of he's the first one in, he's watching film at 5:30 in the morning. But can a coach come in here and show him
something
that he wasn't looking at before?
Yes, exactly. Someone who makes it even better.
Right.
He's got, and again, these are parts of what Cam Ward that the Titans have pounded the table about, is he has the mentality to play this position. He has the will and the desire to play this position. And the other thing which Tom Brady talked about in there, not being afraid to fail in front of 70,000 people. I think that is a very big thing.
Yeah.
We saw with Will Levis, he struggled with it.
Yep.
He struggled.
His confidence was completely shot.
Yes. And Cam Ward, through thick and through thin this year, just keeps trudging along. Caleb Williams, you wondered how he was going to get through last year with Chicago. It was a tough go last year.
Right.
He put up some numbers, but it was a tough go. And now he's got a coach who's got him going absolutely in the right direction. And you see he was able to shake that off. The great ones can have a bad game and come back out the next week and not let it affect him. You can learn from it, but you can't let it. And so I think, from Cam Ward, along those lines of what Brady's talking about, he does check a lot of those boxes.
Yeah.
The one box he doesn't check is what he's talking about, throwing the football.
Right.
He needs to throw the football a little bit better, a little bit more accurately, more time. Now, again, he's completing almost 60% now, but there's some meat on the bone, and Cam would be the first one to tell you that. And so he's got work to do. The Titans have work to do around him. And if they both do that work in this offseason, maybe next year you've got something. I mean, he's going to throw for over 3,000 yards.
Yeah.
And again, it's a 17-game season. But Titans don't have a lot of guys who've ripped it up for well over 3,000 yards.
It's very true. And Scott and Waverly on the text line says, I have a question, guys. Do you think that they will bench Cam if they discover in the offseason that he can't complete the deep ball consistently? He's missed several the last couple of weeks. Is that something that can be taught, or do the Titans have anybody to teach him? First question, no. Cam Ward, as long as he's healthy, will be the starting quarterback in week 1 next year for the Titans. Yes. I think that's about as guaranteed as you can get. But that is a good question at the end. Is it something that you can teach? Is it something you can fix? I think yes, but you have to have the right coach, and you've got to be able to drill it all the way through the offseason. Because, again, it's not something that can be fixed week to week.
Well, number one, it's timing with receivers. So it's putting in timing with your guys. It's having receivers. Look, a lot of those deep balls are combat catches.
Right.
I mean, look at A.J. Brown with the Eagles. I mean, there's just about nobody better at those combat catches. There's 2 guys on him, and he comes away with the football.
Yeah.
So you've got to have some of that. Van Jefferson is a perfect example this last week.
It wasn't a good throw.
But he came up.
But it was a catchable throw.
But it was a catchable throw, and he went up and he made a play for him. And that's what you need. But I will pound the table on this. I would bet that most of his throwing mistakes are footwork related. That can absolutely be fixed. It just has to be drilled, and you have to be willing. You have to be willing to be coached. And everything I've heard is he's willing to be coached.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to miss these throws.
No,
he doesn't. And I don't think he's so arrogant to say, well, it's not my fault I'm missing the throws.
Right.
I'm just going to keep doing it the way I am. He wants to know, what do I need to do to fix this, to not miss this throw? And so I think much of that can be fixed by fixing his footwork. And that starts at his base. And then, here's a good example. A couple of weeks ago in Cleveland, he drops back, he shifts the pocket to the left and throws a dart to Chimdike for a touchdown. That was good footwork. And guess what? The ball was right on target.
Yep.
And so, if he has better footwork, and I know PK has talked about this a lot, and he's not wrong, but there's only so much you can do during the season. A lot of it can be fixed. He may not be Tom Brady, the deep ball thrower, but he can certainly be better than he is now. They had the deep ball to Chimdike for the touchdown against the Patriots. It was right on. He had pocket to throw from. He dropped back. He set up. He delivered. He's just got the fundamentals have to be better more of the time.
Well, and you have proof of concept, the Gunnar Helm throw that he made on Sunday.
Yep, great ball.
He stepped into that throw and he put it right where it needed to be.
Did you see the pocket?
Yeah, right. He didn't have anybody in his face that time. And I've seen people saying it wasn't a good throw to Gunnar Helm. If he doesn't put it there, Gunnar Helm doesn't score.
Well, he also put it away from the defense.
Right. He put it away from the defense so Gunnar Helm could adjust, turn, catch, get up the sideline, and dive for the end zone. Yep. It was right where it needed to be.
Yeah, it was a good
so
ball.
It's proof of concept that, hey, when your footwork is good, the ball is more accurate.
When you have a pocket, which he has more of now, which is and look, he had some heat coming from the left side on that throw, but everybody tell you, you still got to make that throw.
Yeah.
And that's where practice comes in, because you train yourself. And how do your fundamentals hold up when you're under fire?
Right.
Because when they're really ingrained, your fundamentals hold up. Mike Vrabel always had a saying that I really liked when he was the Titans head coach, and that is, your culture is what you are when things are at your very worst.
Yeah.
And so, like, as your quarterback, how are your fundamentals when things are at their very worst? Because I think that's important.
And he did have room to step up on that throw to Van Jefferson, but I think there's a little bit of arm arrogance from Cam Ward too, of like, I can make this throw off my back foot, and maybe the misses the last couple of weeks will start to change that.
I think so. I mean, but again, it takes work.
Right. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's quickly go to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tim is on the line. Tim, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, guys, y'all were talking about Cam, and you said he has the will and has the want to play. I have the will and I have the want to play quarterback, but I don't have the talent. Now, I'm not saying Cam don't have the talent. What I am saying is I haven't, and I know he's not getting the coaching, and all this we can't blame on him because it's not his fault. But I don't see a lot of improvement from the first game to today.
Tim, I think
that's what bothers me.
I think there's a lot of things he has gotten better at throughout the season. Now, has it been enough? No, I don't think there's been some large leap that he's taken this season, but he has gotten better as the year has gone on. He had that game against the Texans in week 4 where he completed 40% of his passes for 100 yards. And pretty much every throw he made was inaccurate in some way. The completion percentage is going up, and he's starting to make better decisions. Yes, there's still a lot to get better on, but he has improved, even if it is just incremental throughout the year.
Well, and the other thing I will say is he don't have much to throw to.
Well, that was one of the points I was going to make is he doesn't have Calvin Ridley to even throw the football to anymore.
I mean, so that's a lot of it. And the kid is everything the kid has done, he's done on his own. He hadn't had no help. He hadn't had nobody to teach him or to coach him. So,
I understand the angst with this coaching staff, but Mike McCoy has worked with a lot of good quarterbacks. Bo Hardegree's been in the league a long time. You can say this isn't the best coaching staff. He's gotten coaching. And Mike McCoy has clearly changed what the expectations are for the offense and for Cam Ward. They have shortened up a lot of the throws he's making. He's not making nearly as many deep throws, and it's why you're seeing him completing more passes. It's why you're seeing first down be more successful with the team. It's why you're seeing 1 sack over the last 2 games. Those are improvements.
It is. But then if that's the case, you need to do more of that.
Absolutely.
Put him in better situations so that he can be better.
Well,
and I don't know if the coaching staff is doing that all the time.
Well, and we thought that Brian Callahan was going to be the guy to develop him. And what we found out was Brian Callahan just wanted him to run his stuff. All right. He wanted him to be Joe Burrow, and he's not Joe Burrow yet, and he doesn't have Jamar Chase to throw to.
And I'm scared this next hire we make, if they don't get, and they're going to have to hire a coach that's going to say, yeah, Cam Ward is my coach, because if they don't, then we screwed up the number 1 pick in the draft and didn't get somebody. So they're going to have to do it. And this coach, they may have a hard time finding somebody that's going to come in and say, yeah, because it's put too much pressure on Cam and them.
Yeah, Tim, I don't think that's a problem. There's only 32 of these jobs out there. And, yes, there are going to be some people who don't believe in Cam Ward. And if they're that anti-Cam Ward, they're probably not going to apply for the job. But I would bet 98% of them would be happy to have Cam Ward, their quarterback, to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Right.
Because these jobs do not grow on trees.
Yeah. Thank you for the call, Tim.
All right. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Yeah, and again, it's not like the Titans were the one team out of 32 who thought Cam Ward was a good quarterback coming out. There are lots of people across the NFL who thought that too. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. I have one more text I want to get to on the Titans. Then we're going to talk some Preds. We got a couple more segments here on this Wednesday. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Couple more segments on this Wednesday morning. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Chase and Big Joe are coming up at the top of the hour. A couple news and notes. Titans hitting the practice field in just a couple of minutes. And Mike McCoy speaking. We aren't going to carry that, but Xavier Restrepo and Dan Moore returning to practice today.
Okay.
And Femi Oladejo, Bryce Oliver, and Ali Gay have all been designated to return from IR. So that is a good sign. Maybe we get to see Femi Oladejo back on the field sometime soon.
And I'd like to see Bryce Oliver back out there. I know he's basically a core special teams player, but I wouldn't mind seeing him play some offense for this football team.
With the group that you have right now, and Xavier Restrepo being back too, that's we saw a flash from him in that Seahawks game. Maybe
it's really, after he got hurt, you really didn't hear from anybody.
Yeah, he was good enough to get another chance on the field, but I don't think he was good enough that people were super disappointed that he got hurt. It's like, oh man.
Well, you don't want anybody to get hurt.
No, but it wasn't. It wasn't like, oh, and just as he got going,
he wasn't on the team when they scored 31 in Cleveland.
No,
and he wasn't, out there when they scored 24 this week in San Francisco.
Right.
So clearly, it wasn't that they weren't playing Restrepo that was holding them back. It's that they weren't blocking.
Yes.
Okay.
It's funny. The offensive success usually starts
front.
with those five guys on the offensive line.
That's why I applaud those guys. Whatever happened, them being put in better position, number one, and then doing it, number two. Nobody wants to hear how bad they are.
Yeah.
And especially those guys, because a lot of those guys have been good players. Zeitler's been a good player. Cushenberry was the number one center free agent. Skronsky's a first-round pick. Latham's a first-round pick.
Yep.
That's why we were like, how can this group not be better? And I think, again, this is me talking out loud, I think like we've talked about with Brian Callahan wanting to do too much with the offense and his rookie quarterback, I think maybe the offensive line coach wanted to do too much with his offensive line before they were ready.
Yeah.
Instead of building a base and going from there, he just, let's do this.
And this group has gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
We can talk about that quickly. I do want to mention Jim Wyatt also saying Cedric Gray not practicing today with a concussion.
Yeah, well, he's got a clear protocol.
And Amani Hooker went home sick. So that safety group will be even thinner today at practice.
Well, the good news is it's Wednesday.
Right. I would assume that shouldn't impact Amani Hooker's ability to play, but
I have seen a lot of that in the NFL for the last month. A lot of guys sick.
Yeah.
I think James Williams was
sick. It's
week.
Just that time of year.
Well, it's just a lot of these guys have kids and they're in there's a lot of stuff going around.
Right.
And so yes, better to hear a guy is sick on Wednesday than Friday.
Correct.
So,
and we were talking about the offensive line. That 5 has turned into I think a pretty league average offensive line, at least for the last couple of weeks, maybe even above average the last couple of weeks. You only have 1 sack and you're opening holes in the run game.
The bigger news about this, Jake, is how it affects next year.
And that's where I was about to go. Is what do you do with this offensive line next year? Do you run it back with 4 or 5 of these guys? I know Zeitler's on a 1-year deal, so
he's 14 years in.
I would guess you're probably going to move on from him, and that's Jackson Slater's spot. That's kind of been what
you would
a
think.
lot of people have expected. I don't know that, but the other guy who you asked the question about, Lloyd Cushenberry. And Adam in Portland asked the question. He says, if you get a chance, can you ask Cory if he thinks Ridley, Cushenberry, or Snead will be back next year? I think it's pretty easy to say no to Ridley, no to Snead.
You would think. Snead, you really have to sell me on that.
Snead, I think, is almost a definite no. Ridley, I could see an outside shot, but I doubt it.
Yeah, what's the big plan there?
Yeah.
Because, what if you're like, hey, we're going to bring him back as our 2. We're going to draft a 1.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess if you don't find a guy you like in free agency, like let's say you like Alec Pierce, but he goes somewhere else, and you're not big on Romeo
Dobbs. Do you really want to
Dobbs,
pay $20 million for Alec Pierce?
And maybe that's the thought process is, well, we've got Calvin Ridley that we're already paying $20 million.
Well, and see, that's the thing is you're on the 3rd year of his deal, and the guys have only gotten more expensive.
Yes.
So he's cheaper in year 3 than those other guys are going to be in year 1. Now, if there's the right guy out there, then sure. And I don't know who that is. I don't dislike Alec Pierce, but he's not a 1.
No. And that's why if you're going to get a 1, you got to draft a 1.
Yes.
But I could see Calvin Ridley outside chance coming. I'd lean gone, but there's a chance.
Yes.
Cushenberry's the interesting one.
Well, yes. And, because, we've seen when Cory Levin played, things looked a little bit better. But again, this week, Cush played and it looked the same. They looked pretty good. Cush is coming off of the Achilles. And I brought this up, I think, last week when we were talking about quarterbacks. How much of a difference have we seen in Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins in year 2 from the Achilles as opposed to year 1?
Yeah.
And so, maybe that's the case with Cush is he's going to be better in year 2 coming off the Achilles than he was in year 1. And again, the group is performing better. And so you've got $108 million in cap space.
And it's going to get
bigger. Yeah. I mean, it's going to get bigger. And so you don't have to cut Cushenberry. I mean, look, you could say, hey, we're going to start Slater at right guard this year. And then when Cushenberry's up, we're going to move him over to center.
Yes.
Because I think that's the belief of what's going to happen.
Right.
And I think that, that wouldn't hurt. And you keep Cory Levin on the roster as a backup. So I would lean towards bringing Cush back.
I think I would too, depending on how the last 3 weeks of the season go. If this group continues to show improvement,
and that's why it's important,
and chemistry, why blow it up when you don't have to? If you can keep 4 out of those 5 guys and everybody's playing next to somebody they've played next to before, except for putting Jackson Slater in there, I think that makes your team better next year than having to find a new center.
I mean, look at the job Dan Moore did against Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I mean, he did pretty well that day.
I mean, I still think Dan Moore will not be the left tackle of the Titans when the new stadium opens.
Oh, yeah.
But next year, I have no problem with Dan Moore being, I mean, not that they can really get rid of him after 1 year, but I have no problem with it being Dan Moore at left tackle.
Well, I don't think they had any intention of getting rid of him after 1 year.
No.
They signed him to be their left tackle for 2 years.
And he's done. Yeah. He's done enough to be able to do it.
And so we'll see what goes on from there. But answering, they're starting to give you an indication that they can largely be the group next year. And I because if you're going to replace the right guard, if you only have to replace 1, I think that would be ideal.
Yes.
Replacing 2, and all of a sudden you're almost half your offensive line you're replacing. Right. I don't think you want to do that.
I agree. 615-737-1025. Last call for phones. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I have promised some Preds talk, and we will get to that coming up next. Preds starting the homestand tonight against the Carolina
Red hot!
Hurricanes. 7 out of 10 for the Preds, coming off a 5-2 win over St. Louis. We'll talk some Smashville on the other side. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Cory Curtis, Parker Kelly. Wrapping up the show on this Wednesday. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next. I did promise some Predators talk. A little less than we expected we would get to, but lots of good stuff with the Titans today. For the Preds, they're winners of 7 out of 10.
Yep.
5-2 win on the road against St. Louis on Monday.
14-4 against the Blues. Or
Yeah.
12-4. I'm sorry. 12
Yeah,
to
if you're
4
going with the aggregate.
in the last week.
And they return home for 3 games here in Nashville. This is a team that has revived their season. They lost 11 out of 13 at one point. It looked like things were heading to a spot where you're going to have to likely fire the coach. You're going to trade away a bunch of players at the
deadline. People were talking about firing Barry.
Right. You might clean house and completely just tear it down. And there's still a chance that that happens at some point, right? Like this could fall back off a cliff, but it's good to see them rebound and find a way to, we were just going through the standings. They are 7 points back of a playoff spot right now.
That's not far.
It's not that far, especially considering the Sharks have played 2 more games. The Mammoth have played 3 more games. The Blackhawks have played another game. The Blues have played 2 more games. So you have games in hand on a lot of these teams, but you still have to continue this success. It cannot be fool's gold of this 10-game stretch. And I think this is an important week for them. You've got 3 talented teams coming in Carolina, Toronto, and New York. Can you get 4 points this week?
Yeah, you have to get 3. You'd like to get 4.
Yeah.
If you get 4, you're ahead of the 8 ball. I mean, so they've got 14 points in the last 10 games. If they average that the rest of the way, they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not asking them to do that. I'm asking them to get 12 points for every 10 games. All right. And you can do that by going 5-3-2, 4-2-4, 6-4. There's a lot of ways to 12 points. But if they can average 12 points for every 10 games the rest of the way, it gets them to 90.
Yes.
And that gets them in the ballpark. And the reason they are winning games right now is not hard to figure out. They are finally scoring goals. They have averaged 4 goals per game in this 10-game stretch. Steven Stamkos has 8 goals.
Yeah, 4-goal game for Stamkos.
And Forsberg had his 12th hat trick last night. So your best players are playing like your best players. I think Luke Evangelista had like an 8 or a 9-game point streak.
Yeah, he's leading the team in assists.
Yes. Okay. That's what you need. You need these guys to show up every night, and you need it when they dish it for somebody else to finish it. Matthew Wood has proven he's an NHL player for your hockey team.
Reed Schaefer's looked good.
Reed Schaefer, he scored from the blue line.
Yeah.
The other night. It was a wild shot. But, you can see they're having fun again. You can see, they're winning. They're putting the pucks in the net. What's the difference? Again, you probably get differing answers on that. But I do see Steven Stamkos get the puck in front of the net and score. And, getting the puck is one thing. Him being in front of the net is the other.
Yeah.
And so, it's about doing the right things. And they're doing the right things now and being rewarded for it. Sometimes you're a little snake bit, but you can't put snake bit on what they were earlier in the season.
Yeah.
They're doing the right things and they're getting rewarded for it. They've beaten a lot of bad teams. Okay. But they weren't beating bad teams before.
And you look at these last 10 games, like Detroit's in first place. They went to Detroit and beat them 6-3.
That was the first one that got my attention.
That was the one that I think kind of turned things. They had just given up 8 goals to the Panthers 2 nights earlier at home. Yeah. And maybe that was the wake-up call that they needed. And your 3 losses, none of them have been all that close. Like, it's not like you've just gotten it taken away at the last second. But Winnipeg, who won the President's Trophy last year. Carolina's a good team. And Colorado's the best team in hockey right now. All 3 of those games on the road. Like, those are losses that a lot of good hockey teams will still have.
Yeah. And by the way, how competitive were you in those games? Was it more competitive than you've been all season long?
Right.
And I would say, yes, they lost those games, but they were more competitive in those games than they had been. And again, that goes to how you look that you're playing. How are you playing? And so in each one of those losses, they bounced right back. And won again.
They've won 7 out of 10. 0178 on the text line says, interesting Preds odds, 10% to make the playoffs, 9.2% to get the first pick. So they're like right in the middle right now. The 2 paths are diverging.
Yeah.
Which way do you go?
Yeah. No, and because it could, like you said, this, like I said, with the Titans offensive line, from Cleveland to San Francisco, I said, prove to me it wasn't a fluke.
Right.
With the Nashville Predators right now, you've had this 10-game stretch. You've got my attention. Now prove to me it wasn't a fluke. Show me, what are you going to do the next 10 games? I don't need you to win them all. I don't need you to win 7 of them, but I need you to win 5.
Yep. And they've got 3 at home starting tonight before a 4-game road trip. It's a 7:00 puck drop tonight over at Bridgestone Arena, 6:00 pregame with Max Hers right here on 102.5 The Game. Cory, always a pleasure having you in. We will not do it again next week, so hope you have a great holiday.
Yeah, if I would have known, I would have brought you a gift. But now I'm not going to see you till after Christmas, so no gift this year, Jake.
Yes, so have a Merry Christmas. We will do it again in 2 weeks, but appreciate you coming in. Tomorrow, Teron Davenport is with us for the full show. We'll have Andrew Allegretta for his weekly visit at 9:30. Chase and Big Joe are coming up next here on 102.5 The Game.